Hello, my friend. God bless you from wherever you're listening. My name is Iris, and I'm back today with another encouragement for you, my friend, God's people. Some messages have been burning in my heart, and I've just been sitting on some of them, and some of them have been stewing, and some of them have been giving birth to branches of messages, and it's about time I started to release some of them. What if I told you that your broken dreams can be your best doors, or they can be your broken dreams could be your access to God's great big plan for your life? Broken dreams. Well, I don't want my dream to be broken. Of course, none of us does wants broken dreams, but we do. Many of us do go through times where we have what we hope for, what we expected things to be, life to turn out, but it doesn't quite happen. It's broken dreams. But I will be able to say to you, if you look at somebody like Joseph in the Bible, Joseph was someone who had those dreams that God had showed him of him ruling over his family. Even for a bit, Jacob, his father, was taken aback by the dreams and asked him, are you saying you're going to rule over your dad and your mom and I? But that wasn't what those dreams were saying. That's what they read into it, and Joseph, in his little naughty pride, probably thought it was saying. However, those dreams, those hopes, those expectations, which were not really truth, in a sense. The dreams were true. They were from God. But Joseph's interpretation of them and his brother's interpretation of them that caused them to sell him and betray their family was not correct. They were not correct. So in a sense, you could say his dreams were shattered, or so he believed. But they were his door into God's perfect will for his life. So today I'm about to encourage you. I'm here to encourage you with this. Do you believe your dreams have been shattered? You have broken dreams. The things you hoped for never materialize as you hoped. However, I would encourage you today to take a step back and look at what happened thereafter. If you're somebody of faith, you probably didn't just lie down and play dead, walk out of the ring and never fight again. You probably carried on. But if you look at it, if you ever did stop and meditate on that disappointment and all it carried with it, because sometimes with these disappointments, there's a lot of shame and a lot of hurt, broken heart, broken dreams, broken heart. I'm probably going to title it that, actually. Broken dreams, broken heart. But those could be your open doors. Those could be your path to your open doors. And definitely in the case of Joseph, his broken dreams were the path to his destiny. So my friend, when you have come across these life's disappointments, what would I encourage you to do? Joseph just remained faithful to his God. He never wavered from his faith. Like his life couldn't get worse just when he was beginning to be trusted in Potiphar's house, managing Potiphar's business. Another storm hit his life. Potiphar's wife wanted him. Joseph didn't want her back. Want her himself. And she set him up. And next thing he knows, he goes from being the leader in Potiphar's house to the dungeon of prisons. Like it can't get worse. But there again, God granted him success. He made him the ruler. They made him the ruler of the prisoners. And he was supervising things going on in the prison. And then something happened that felt like, oh, this is my big break. When he interpreted the dream for the butler and the baker. And I'm going to put the scripture references to these. I didn't take time to sort of like, it just came to my spirit and I thought to share it. And I'm going to put the relevant scriptures at the bottom of this page, at the bottom of the page when I upload this. So, what did he do? He didn't change. I always say to my kids, did you know? I always say to my children, never complain about what you have to do for your faith, because Joseph did his faith when nobody else knew there was a God that existed, when nobody else was doing God. Joseph kept faith when nobody else around him was doing God. And that was why God elevated him and the likes of him, like Daniel, Shadrach, and Meshach, and Abednego, those kind of people. God lifted them up because they were doing their faith when everybody else was compromising, looking for something else to do but God, you know? And Joseph, I always say to my kids, take a leaf from Joseph, because he kept faith when there was no reason to, when nobody else was doing it. He did it all by himself, based on what his father, Jacob, had taught him, because he was close to Jacob. And so Joseph just kept faith, kept doing the right thing. For the very reason why he wouldn't commit adultery with Potiphar's wife is a very ethos, a very, way of life he maintained in that prison. And when he interpreted the dream for the baker, the dreams of the baker and the butler, and his broken dreams, ultimately, we all know the story of Joseph. The butler forgot to. He told the butler to mention me to the king, that I'm a great interpreter, a great interpreter of dreams. Again, that dream of coming before Pharaoh based on his gift was shattered again. Are you someone with so many shattered dreams? Well, welcome to the party. But you know what? As with the God we serve, you have double the victories. Double the amount of victories as you have broken dreams, disappointments, hope deferred. But when God gives you victories, they will far outweigh what the disappointment, the brokenness you go through when you have these shattered hopes, expectations, and dreams. So Joseph was forgotten by the butler, but when it was God's time, like I said, I heard C.S. Lewis say this. Sometimes, is it C.S. Lewis or someone else? Well, I credit somebody else with it. From now, I'll use it as mine. Anyway, said that there's a way he put this thing, that sometimes what we call delays or denials are actually nothing to do with delays or denials. I know who it is. It's Daniel, or watchman on the wall, prophetic words. You should tune into that sometimes. Sometimes you get some really, spot on prophetic words from them. Anyway, from various prophets who bring, speak out their prophecies on there. So what was I saying? It's that some things we call delays and denials are not actually delays and denials. They are timing. God's timing, just not there yet. And so if you look at Joseph, it wasn't that he was delaying. The things he was going through in the periods he was waiting to come into his own were not disappointments. They were not delays. They were things. They were life happening. And many of us will understand life happens and you change. Life happens and you change. And a lot of times life is not happening good. Sometimes it's not happening as you would expect it. Would love it to, but life is happening to you anyway. But when the time for God comes, nothing stops that time. Pharaoh had to have that, those dreams he had. The butler, in fear for his life, had to get Joseph. That dream was interpreted, but by the time Joseph is interpreting that dream now, he's not claiming any knowledge, any gifting. He said, it's not in me to even interpret this dream for you, Pharaoh. But I will anyway. And I also have the solution. No, he didn't say that. And Pharaoh is the one who asked him, what's your solution then to this problem you just interpreted the dream to be? And of course, God had given Joseph, in his wisdom and all the experience he had learned from his father's wisdom, Jacob, and leading in Potiphar's house, leading in the prison. He knew how to manage people and resources, and the answer was there. and Pharaoh immediately promoted him to the prime minister. The story of Joseph is amazing, but I always like to leave this message for both young and old. When I use Joseph, it's in the message. Joseph did God in a foreign land, a heathen land, when nobody else understood God, nobody else was doing God. That was the case was with Shadrach, the Hebrew boys. They kept their faith when everyone around them did not care for their God. Mordecai, in the book of Esther, when she was in that harem and she was offered all the things that she was taught not to eat as a Hebrew girl, she kept her faith when nobody else was watching her. Her uncle wasn't watching her. God didn't have a stick over her head. God never does. So I always like to remind people that if you keep faith, even when you think no one is watching, if you keep faith with God, even your broken dreams, even your shattered hopes and expectations, God will, out of those shattered dreams, God will dreams, shattered pieces of sometimes your life, your life, aspects of your life are shattered. Out of those things that are shattered, those pieces of those shatterings, God can make a masterpiece of your life, of that situation in your life, that situation in your career, in your body, in your relationship. Out of those pieces, God can make a masterpiece. And I want to leave you with that encouragement now, today. Remember, your broken dreams can be the access to open doors in your life. They can be steps towards your open door. Likewise, your broken pieces can be built, restored back into a masterpiece by God. Certainly, the Bible does tell you that God is able to turn those ashes into something really beautiful. And I leave someone with that word today. I hope this word blesses you. Keep expecting, keep pursuing, and you will lay hold of that blessing, of that miracle that you have trusted God for. May today I pray for you. May God turn those shattered pieces of your lives and events and your hopes and expectations into a masterpiece of a blessing for you. May those broken pieces provide stepping stones into the best blessed seasons of your life. God bless you richly, and see you next time when the Lord gives me another word. And hopefully that will be soon, I think. It will be soon. God bless you. Bye for now. Bye-bye.